And we are live. Welcome to everyone. I am Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman from
Hi.
ConnectedForReal.com. And this is Tamar. Tamar, tell us who you are.
Hello, everybody. I am Tamar Field-Gersh, and I am a life coach working with lots of amazing women out there. I'll tell you more about that later.
I love it. Okay, so we are talking about self-love today because that's Tamar's thing. And I wanted to really get it to the next level of like, what does that mean in regards to our marriage? So first tell us, self-love. What's the definition? How do you explain it? What is it?
Okay. So I guess I will tell a little bit more about like my niche situation. I am a life coach, as I mentioned, and I work, and I'm kind of niche free, as I explained to Batchen before we hopped in. Because I really love working with anybody and everybody who is like so open to transformation and just wants to who has like a good life and they want to like fantastic life. But more specifically, who I really love working with in particular is other mama entrepreneurs and women who are really wanting to create more self-love in their life. And in order to go on to create this dream business, dream work that they have in their lives through self-confidence. So that's kind of my niche situation. And so when I'm talking about self-love, I'm really talking about oftentimes, the reason why I specifically am focusing on self-love in my work is because I feel like with every session, no matter who I'm working with, and I also work with men as well, whenever we get to a place in a session when I'm kind of like, okay, let's back up and let's look at what's going on with you, like with curious eyes and potentially falling into a place of self-love for yourself in that moment, every client breaks down emotionally. And the amount of tears that I have experienced in this particular moment is really incredible. And you see how little self-love we give ourselves on the daily, right? And so I'm not talking about this bubble bath that you give yourself once a month because you just got your work done and your kids are gone in school and all that kind of stuff, or like, little girls retreat for 2 days. When I talk about self-love, I'm talking about when you are in a situation, whether it's, you've been yelling at your kids, right? Or you get into a fight with your partner and you like didn't show up the way you wanted to show up. Kind of taking a moment being like, girl, I got you. I got you. I know you're like, yes, something just happened. You're like not so into. Let's like look at it from a place. Let's back up. Let's look at it from a place of curiosity. Where, like, what happened here? Why was I so upset? Why did I raise my voice in this particular way? And kind of like looking at it in that kind of way instead of like pounding on yourself and judging yourself for going there, right? Being like, nothing went wrong, right? I'm a mom. It's hard to be a mom. They're kids. It's hard to be kids. It's hard to be a husband. It's hard to be all these things, and it's okay. And so, kind of, when we give ourselves that kind of check in every day, you don't need the bubble bath. Bubble baths are really fun, right? Days at the spa are great. But when you're constantly feeding yourself with, I love you no matter what is happening for you, I've got you, it's like, yeah,
I
it's
just
just
took a
there.
deep breath because it's exactly that. It's like,
Right.
we
Yeah,
have a hard time doing that for ourselves
totally.
because we're the ones who know ourselves best, and we know we could do better, and we know that we can try, and we know that we messed up here and messed up there. Like, for other people you could fake it.
Right.
You could fake it. You could be like, okay guys, yay, I'm in a good mood, but inside you're like, nice try, right? But it's not going to work if you're you know better. It's just, what do I do with this, right? So it's
Right.
like knowing better and being willing to accept where you are right now, who you
Yeah.
are right now. I think that's also something that, now taking it to the marriage level, because I just realized how impactful this was for me when I was okay with seeing myself the way I am and loving myself anyway. Then I was able to open up in a different way so that I was more present with my husband. I was more real with him. I was not trying to like fake it or be something or hide my flaws or whatever. I was just like, this is what happened and this is how I dealt with it. And and this is what it is,
100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing because, I think we as women, we can easily go into our minds and be like, who are we loving on every day? Like, certainly our kids, right? Certainly our friends, right? Most of the time, our parents, maybe sometimes not, though, and our yoga teachers are whoever we're like really excited about all those different things. And then we kind of like, can go back and be like, how can I love myself the same way I just loved my kid? How can I love myself the same way I just loved my best friend, who did X, Y, and Z?
And I think you could take that even further because we think that we love other people more. We do, because it looks like from the outside, that's how it looks. I love my kids so much. I wish I could love myself that much. But in reality, our capacity to love is only as great as the amount of love we give ourselves.
Yeah.
And
100%.
they're actually mirrors of each other. So if you think you love your kids that much, that's how much you love yourself. And just that awareness is like, okay, this isn't
totally.
Ain't that
100%.
bad?
100%.
It's almost like giving yourself like a little bit of like, okay, I thought I was, harder on myself, but overall, I think it's not that bad. And then again, when you realize, wow, if I just work on this one thing, just accepting myself and loving myself in a way that I can really love more, how much more can I love my kids? How much more can I love my husband? How much more can I love my friends,
Totally. Listen, love feels so freaking good. Like love feels good, right? It feels like amazing in your body. And so I like to ask myself, like, where can I love more? What today? Like you wake up and you're like, where can I love? Right? Like, when you're doing tefillah, like you're loving and having this connection with Hashem and connecting, to God and making that happen, right? And so, and then you're going on your day and you're taking care of your kids, you're getting their food ready for the day and sending them off, and you're loving on them, and you're making, their special sandwiches that they like for this particular kid and their vegetables for this kid, whatever it is, and you're doing all those different things, and it feels so good. And so why not be like, how can I love on myself? How can I bring that even deeper into myself every single day, right? And sometimes that literally, I'll tell you, from the beginning of my journey, I literally had to go to the mirror and be like, hi, like, how you doing? And really have this like physical like contact with myself. Because I think also as mothers and women and just busy people, you really lose yourself in it all. Like, it really happens. It really happens where you kind of detach yourself from you so that you can get the work done and you can raise these children and you can have this partnership and you can have this marriage. And so there comes a time when you like actually literally have to go on like dates with yourself. You have to have this connection with yourself, and it has to like be like in massive action. You have to actively be taking steps of like going to the mirror in the morning and being like, good morning, you're looking so beautiful, and then talking to yourself through it. I talk to myself all the time. My kids are like, but I do it, I do it because I feel it, because I really feel the change in myself when I'm like, when I do something great, I'm like high-fiving myself. I'm like, amazing job. Great work. That was amazing.
Right.
So.
What's funny? There was, I never read this book, but I was listening to a podcast where they lived by this book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself.
What to say?
What to say when you talk to yourself.
Uh-huh.
It was such a genius title to a book. Amazing. Because we don't actually know how to talk to ourselves. We don't know what to say when we're talking to ourselves. And we talk to ourselves all the time. Oh, that was so stupid. Oh, I'm such an idiot.
Right.
Like, exactly. No, that's not okay.
Exactly.
Would you say that to your friend? No. So don't say it to yourself.
Exactly.
But even more than that, to the next level of just like processing the day, pausing, being able to be present. Those are things that are so monumental. Yeah. And we don't use them. We don't utilize them at all.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. That's exactly where it's at. That is like, you're exactly right in terms of that we like have been talking to ourselves. Our brain has been talking to us for a very long time, right? Like we get shot a million different thoughts all day long, right? But once we start to make it a dialogue, that is like the juice of life. That is where our lives really can take different turns. I remember listening on a podcast. I forgot which podcast it was, but it was this like professional sports guy who was being interviewed. Some like big guy. Again, I kind of forgot who it was, but and some of the person who was interviewing him was said like, how do you do it? How did you be like the great basketball player, whatever he was? And he said, once I stopped listening to myself and I started talking to myself, that's where the shift was. Because
Yes.
it's an actual skill you have to learn. You have to practice it like anything else. But once you get it, once you get all these thoughts shot out at you and you're a part of that conversation, like, I hear you, brain, but I just don't agree with you on this one. I'm just going to take a different turn here, like, and again, our brain is doing its thing. It's not like a mean, bad part of ourselves.
No,
It's
it's here to help you and protect you and
safe.
support you. Oh yeah.
Exactly.
It just, doesn't, it's working with what it has. So if this is what you heard other people saying to themselves, then why would you say any different?
Right.
And then it takes maturity to say, I'm taking responsibility for myself right now, and not, I am going to just be a reaction or a result of what has been happening around me all these years. And
Exactly.
that's exactly where it is.
100%. That's it.
This is also in marriage where you have people who come from, certain marriage stories and things that they've, grew up with, or their grandparents or their parents or whatever. And then it takes a conscious choice to say, I want to create something different.
Yeah.
And even if you didn't come from a broken home and everything was fine, but still there was a certain atmosphere, there was certain, things that were going on behind the scenes or under the ground, like things that you actually don't put words to, but because children see through everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like, I didn't like how this was, and for me that's important, or I don't, I want this different thing. Suddenly you can actually get really, really honest and really clear about what you want.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, it's like the second you take responsibility for it all, right? And especially with a marriage, because I think that there's like this whole idea of that, like, your partner is supposed to make you happy. Your children are supposed to make you happy. And that's where that's the disaster. That's when things like blow up in your face. But when you like realize that it's like all you, all the time, always, right? How you decide to.
I want to make this more clear. I want to sharpen this message, because it's not that they're supposed to make you happy. It's that they make you happy. Like, their existence makes you happy, and you're in your own way not letting it make you happy.
Yeah, that's
because it's not like, he's supposed to figure it out. He has figured it out. He wants so badly to make you happy because he's your husband. And that's what his program says: protect and provide, protect and provide. This is my person, right? And even if you don't have a good marriage and somebody comes and like does something to the wife, the husband will roar, because it is natural. This is my wife. You don't start up, right? Like, just like you do for kids, the mama bear. It's natural. It doesn't matter how annoying that kid is. The second somebody else starts up with him, you are there.
Right.
So your husband loves you, and your kids love you, and everybody is throwing love around at you. And the question is, are you a vessel? Are you able to receive the love that's actually happening? It's right there. All it is get out of your own way.
Right. Absolutely.
That's
there's something that, 100%. There's something that like I practice in my own practice that I do with clients, which is called a want match. And it's an exercise that you do with your partner where you sit down and you guys both like write out like the different things that you're wanting in your marriage, like the things that you're wanting the other, potentially from the other person, it could be as simple as like, I just want you to take initiation with the laundry once a week, to I want a date night and for us to get up dressed up fancy and all those kinds of things, right? And you kind of like, and then you share the list with each other, right? And if there's like, and if there's like, this person wants the same thing as this person, that's considered like a want match. Great, amazing, beautiful, no work necessarily to be done there. Enjoy your life there, right? If then there's things on the list where like the woman is asking for something and the man, it's not like what he wants, but he's totally going to go for, okay, he's going to try it out and see, And so it's kind of like creating these lists to see where is it like easy, where can you like go off and do your own thing, and where is there like potential work for the other person in it. Because in a marriage, it's not like you're not in these individual by yourself, do your own thing kind of thing. You are trying to make actual connection and really like to give to one another, right? But the power is that if something's on your list and it's something that you're asking your partner, you have every right to ask your partner for whatever you want. Like, go for it, go to town, dream big. But you also have to do the work of, and if he doesn't show up in that kind of way that you're asking, that's okay too. Because you're not here to change him. You're not like, you are like coming and being like, this is a partnership, so I'm going to ask for what I want. And I'm at the same time going to let go of if it doesn't come through.
You know what the difference between ask and demand is?
Yeah.
Is when you ask, the answer is possibly no.
Yeah.
It could be yes, it could be no. But when you demand, you're demanding for it to happen, and there is no other way. So then you suddenly wake up and you're like, oh, right? When you ask from a place of ask, because we say, oh, but I asked him a million times. No, you didn't ask him. You told him.
Right.
Right. So when you actually get to the point where you can ask for something, being completely at peace with whatever the answer is, that's when magic happens.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, my mentor, Brooke Castillo, who I got certified through, her big thing is always like, listen, if I could change all the people, if I could control all the people, I'm telling you, I would do it. She's just like, if I could like make all the husbands and the wives do those things that like the other person wants, I would do it. And I would probably be like, she's already rich, but I would be like a billionaire, but the bottom line is that we cannot. And ultimately you don't want to. You don't want to be marrying a robot. You're like in a partnership. You want to be with someone who has got opinions and ideas and thoughts and all those kinds of things, even if that can be challenging and hard, especially if that can be, because that is also where the work is. When you're feeling those harder emotions like the disappointment and all those different things, which by the way are totally brought on by you, not by him, what he does and doesn't do. But those are the places of growth and transformation, and really looking at like, why is that so disappointing to me that he didn't do what I asked for? What's going on there? What's happening there? And, and so it's kind of like, yeah, the bottom line is let's just hear the facts. The facts are that we're never going to be able to control anybody. So let's get to work knowing where the power is. And that is really, and as cheesy and life coachy as this sounds, right? The power is within us. We have all the power, You
can't, you could try and make it not cheesy and whatever, but it really is, the only thing you can control.
Yeah.
And once you can, if you're successful at controlling that, then believe me, the whole world around you is going to fall into place, because it's really all just a mirror of what you need to do. So if you do it, then there's no more need for it to be around you. Like,
totally.
This is day one of my retreat.
Exactly.
That's
a great day one. That's a great day one.
It's, my entire retreat it's just so powerful, because it really takes you through the entire process. But that's where it starts. It starts with you taking responsibility for yourself.
Totally. That's amazing.
And that's something I tell people, I say straight out, and I repel a lot of people. I say, you can single-handedly fix your marriage. You can single-handedly improve your marriage.
Right.
You can take where you are and completely shift it without his help at all. Like
Right.
no grabbing him, no dragging him, no taking him
Right.
by the ear, nothing. He does not need any help. And people
Right.
are like, oh, it's all him. Of course he needs help. He doesn't need help. He
Right.
naturally wants to love you. He naturally wants to do everything for you. It's something
Right.
along the way that just got stuck
Yeah.
that, you know, it has to do with how much you are in your own way.
Yeah.
So get out of your way. That's all it is.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I know when I tell clients that also, they're kind of like because there is like a relief in being able to put the responsibility on somebody outside of you, obviously, because like,
It's called
like you don't
excuses.
have to deal with it. It's not your work. They have to change it and then come back to me. So meanwhile, I'll go on and do my other thing. Right. So it's kind of like quote unquote bad news sometimes to clients. It's like, what? I have to it's not their responsibility, but truthfully really and at the end of the day, but even before the end of the day, it is the best news ever. It is the best news because you're not chasing something that will never exist. It's like literally a cat chase, where you're like chasing, and you're never going to get it, right? Whatever, I don't know if it's called cat chase or whatever. I always mess up those kind of
Right.
sayings, but it's really like you are so powerful. We are so powerful. We have no idea how powerful we are.
And you know what's crazy is, finding excuses is something that we've been almost like conditioned to do, because so what's your excuse? Why'd you do this? It sounds so awful if you say, well, really, I just forgot. Or, in school, I don't know, like a teacher says, why don't you do the homework? And you're like, really? I was totally in a different place in my head and I didn't remember we had this thing due. And you think she's going to accept that?
Right.
How is our society accepting the fact that we actually own up to our mistakes?
Yeah.
Not very well.
No.
They don't know how to eat it up. They don't know how to swallow it. It's super awkward and weird. There's no response to that. Okay, so how am I supposed to give you a punishment, right? I don't know what to do with this. So we teach our kids to come up with an excuse. Why do you think that happened? Well, let me know. And it's I have no idea why it happened. I totally forgot about it. No, it was not important to me. Right. Are you saying my homework is not important to you? Right.
Yeah.
Go say that to a teacher. But I'll tell you, when I was my first time hearing that I have to take responsibility for myself and it's not my husband's fault and there's nothing he can do about it, the first thing that came up was it's just not fair. It's just not fair because I'm always the good one.
Right.
I'm always the good one. I'm always the one trying. I'm always the one going to classes. I'm always the one improving myself. And he has nothing. He doesn't have to do anything.
Right.
How is this fair?
Right. Yeah. You go into little kid mode. It's literally like this early childhood where it's you're literally having a tantrum. It's literally that,
But I'll tell you what helped me. The answer to it from my, I went to a really amazing marriage expert. I don't know, whatever. She did a course and I went to her one-on-one. It was amazing. And such a simple answer, you be the good one because you want a good life. If you're comfortable the way it is, you don't have to do anything. I give you full permission to not change.
Right.
Because it's a choice too. And that was so relieving because it meant I didn't have to be the good one. I get to be the good one.
Yeah.
I choose to be the good one.
I think that's a really great point that works with marriage, works with really anything in our lives. And that's taking a pause and a break. And this is also self-love, right? Where you are consciously redeciding things for yourself, right? So when we're talking about marriage, for example, right? To consciously sit down and be would I marry this person again? Would I, if this was happening again, today, would I remarry this person? And coming to a place of redeciding, yes, I would, right? I would. And these are the reasons why. And that in itself is really empowering. It's right. I'm not forced into this. I'm not pushed into this. I don't have to do this. There are many options that you where you could not do this. And you are getting to redecide, yes, I'm committed to this relationship. Yes, I from fresh eyes, fresh everything,
I had a client who told me that she knows they're going to get divorced. It's just that they have 10 kids and the youngest ones shouldn't suffer. So she's holding on until the end. And then when it's time, she'll get divorced. And everything is working, things are running and whatever, but like she knows. And so I said to her, no, it doesn't work that way. You're either divorced or you're married. You can't be living on a fence, because then you're really not helping anyone. Your kids are suffering, you're suffering, he's suffering. It's not fair. So I said to her, are you getting divorced right now? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, so you're getting married. And that was the hugest thing for her. It was like, I actually have to act to him like I'm married to him. I'm like, yes, because you are choosing to be married when you're choosing not to get divorced. You cannot be in that in-between state. It does not work.
Right.
So it's and then it was a choice.
And then
it was suddenly like, oh,
yeah.
And then, everything opened up, all the floodgates of heaven, that it was abundance started coming in. Their, money situation started, fixing itself. Their daughter got engaged, like everything, everything came down because she was holding everything closed, like all the doors closed. We are going to keep this place closed until further notice. That was the energy that was in that house.
Right.
And the second she opened it up and got out of her own way, it was
opened up
so
for her.
Fun. It was so fun for me to watch. And then her daughter says to her, why don't you talk to that abundance lady again? And she's like,
are you the abundance lady, Mrs. Abundance?
Apparently, because every time she talked to me, abundance would come in.
That's
and
amazing.
It had nothing to do with money. It had to do with get out of your own way.
Your openness.
Open yourself up to God. Just let him show you what he wants. And he wants good. He wants nice. He wants all the amazing things for you. He doesn't want you to suffer. So when you have this conversation with God and you're like, I'm ready, I'm okay, it's going to be good, suddenly it all comes down. And I loved it that she called me the abundance.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a good one. You should have that as a license plate, abundance plate coming through. That's great. Yeah, and I definitely tell my clients that it really, they get to decide what they want to decide in terms of they're grown-ups. They get to decide whatever they want, but make sure that you're so in love with your decision. Make sure that for all the reasons why you decided that, just feel right in your body in the most perfect aligned kind of way possible, And
I want to say something to that, because you just said something so powerful. A lot of times we make decisions because we're supposed to.
Right.
I'm supposed to be happy in this marriage. I'm supposed to make this work. I'm supposed to, I don't know what. No, you're not supposed to anything. That's when you get into real trouble.
Yeah.
It's like, and I love you said, feel into your body. It's such a physical thing.
Yeah. Every time. I mean, that's it. You can that. And that's the check-in with yourself. Is this the right move? Get out of your head, get here, and you'll know exactly what the right decision is. How does it feel here? Does that feel right? Are those reasons enough to stay in this or to do this? Whatever decision you're making, your body is she'll tell you exactly where to go, what direction to move in.
Yeah. And then you'll get all the emotions, fear, shame, guilt. Totally. And that's cool. Yeah. And you know why those emotions are coming up? To protect you.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're also
to tell you, wait, you're getting out of comfort zone.
Exactly. And you really can I've really started to interpret those. I started to kind of look forward to the fear and all those harder feelings, because it's my signal being I'm about to do something awesome, So it's okay, those are going to be their challenges, but guess what? I'm about to do something awesome. It's so worth it. It's so worth it, because I'm about to step into myself in a way I never have before. So it's worth it. Go for it. So yeah, but yeah,
so
you're right.
Powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. I'm about to do something awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's the action of speaking to yourself, right? Because naturally we're programmed where you like just feel the fear and you just are like, and your brain's like, don't do it. Don't do it. And it gives you all the evidence of why you shouldn't do it and why it never happened for you before, while nobody else has done it before successful, whatever it is, whatever this thing is, your mind will go to work proving why you should not do it. And that's where the self-love comes in. That's where the work comes in, where you get to be a part of this conversation. It is not a monologue where they just get to say their thing and then they're out of there. They say their thing and you get to respond back and be like, oh, the fear is coming. You're going to have to do this and that. It's going to be awful. It's like, yeah, but you know what? It's going to be actually awesome because I know once I move through this, it's going to explode. It's going to be an absolutely beautiful thing. Yeah. Right. And that's where you're like on your own team and you start to really build yourself up from that place, you know?
Oh, I love it. I love it. You know, Hannah Mason is one of my favorite coaches. So sweet. She says your body is a lie detector.
Yeah, totally.
Your body will show you if something's a lie or if something's a truth by the way that you feel. If you're closed or if you're open, if you're stressed or if you're calm. It's so amazing.
100%.
It's totally so amazing.
I mean, that's the thing. Our brains are lying to us all the time. And again, not from like a bad place. I think the brain gets a really bad reputation sometimes, you know, like when we're talking as coaches, because really they're really doing a great thing. They really have, they allowed us to survive all like until today. They're like amazing.
Well, I also like to explain it. You know, my fridge, it beeps when you leave the door open.
Right.
You have that? Like if it's open for a minute, it starts going beep, 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 beep.
Totally.
So can you imagine if it was the opposite? If your brain was supposed to tell you when everything else is great, and then when something's wrong, it's just supposed to be quiet? No, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
There's danger. There's something going on. That's when you speak up. That's when you say. So your brain is wired to look for everything that's going wrong.
Yep.
And it's really working. Like it's supposed to be that way. Nothing's broken or wrong about it. It's doing its job.
100%, for sure. Right. And that is the work of like bringing our bodies into our lives and reconnecting like what's going on here with what's going on here. You know, like I really will when I'm working with my clients, I will, you know, when they're bringing up something I felt really disappointed or I felt really overwhelmed or I felt really whatever's going on for them, I will have them drop into that emotion and describe it to me. Like, what does it look like? What does it sound like? Where is it coming up in your body? You know, because like for them to really get in touch with that because of that, it's like a signal of like, oh, now I know when I get really like jittery and this kind of thing, it's like my overwhelm is about to happen, it's about to kick in and like, it's going full force. And it literally is a signal. I think that's really beautiful what Hannah said, you know? And you're able, if you can connect those, that's also like an unbelievably powerful thing for you. You're like using your whole self, you know, you're using your whole self in showing up in the world. You know?
Oh, I love this. Okay. So tell us a little bit about how this affected your marriage, because I want to hear some backstory.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So how did this affect? Well, I mean, I will tell you, I've tremendously. It really kind of exploded it really opened it up in an incredible way. I mean, my husband and I have like always, you know, we've like grew with each other. My husband's very open-minded and very processy and, you know, just open to all that kind of stuff, loves that kind of stuff in general in terms of like really like connecting to what's going on for us emotionally and all those things. He has a twin sister, so he got like a lot of female influence and all that kind of stuff. So really where the change happened was when I started to, you know, really say to myself, he is not going to make me happy. What he does and does not do is not going to make me happy. I am going to make myself happy. And the thoughts that I have about him, about us, about our marriage, our relationship, our family, it is 100% my thoughts about it and nothing to do with the actions that do or do not happen.
I mean, how did you figure this out? Because it doesn't just like happen one day that you wake up and you're like, oh, I just realized
right
to do with him.
Totally. Well, I'll tell you, you know, during, Corona hit the world, you know, and for so many people, I think that it really dramatically changed a lot of things, right? For the good, for the bad, for all those things. And for us, our life really kind of came to like a pause. My husband was working at the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. Maybe many people heard of it. Maybe people, I myself was a student there. Actually, my claim to fame is that I was there with Matisyahu. He was my boyfriend there. And he worked there for like 13 years. And it's an amazing organization and program. It's basically kids come from like abroad to Israel for 2 to 6 months. And the teachers basically teach like on the go. They take them to these different places all over the country and teach about Israeli history right there and then where these things happened. So
That's
amazing,
cool.
amazing job, but he was gone all the time. I mean, he missed one of my kids' births. You know, he was just like, I was really a solo parent for really, all those years, really. So COVID hit, tourists weren't coming in. He went on, like many people, went on unemployment. And then really started to think about like, do I want to go back? Do I want to start something on my own? And those kinds of things. And I, for the first time in a long time, had a moment of like, now I'm a little bit more available because now I potentially have a co-partner here, and I was doing work. I was teaching English online with Chinese and Taiwanese students for a while, so that could be available to my kids, but a job that I had zero really interest in and passion in. And all of a sudden I had this opening of like, I get to do what I want to do. And so I dove deep into coaching. I ate it up like I couldn't get more. It was just like the best. So coaching, so specifically my mentor who I found and discovered, I just like drank up every word she said. I joined her coaching program, became certified, and her teachings were really like opened me up in that way. It was like, you have all the power in the world inside of you. And you don't think that. You think that it's a fact that if your husband doesn't take out the trash because you've asked him 10 times to do it and he doesn't do it, that you should feel angry. That's a fact. And truth is, it's not. It's actually just your thought about the situation that leads to your feeling about it. And you get to decide whatever you want to decide. You get to think whatever you want to think, and to feel about it. And so I think that I just kind of went deep into this work. And once I kind of gave him the space to be who he wants to be, because it no longer is it's not directly like I get to decide what I want to do with it. I was given myself the space, like I get to be me, he gets to be him. And we get to bring like the best of the best to this marriage, into this relationship. And all of a sudden it was just fun. It wasn't this like, you got to make this work. We got to do that. It was like, we get to have fun because you get to show up as you and I get to show up as me. And I'll tell you, my husband and I are very, very different in many, many ways. Religiously, he's much more observant than I am. And for a while, that was like a really hard thing. That like our story, my story in my mind was like, I don't know how this is going to work. Like he's much more observant than I am. And it's hard and it's all these things. And it kind of changed into the story of like, we're so different and we're like a unicorn couple. Like this is the coolest thing ever. Like our kids get to see everybody, like this power couple doing their own thing in the world and together and it working and really living into who they are, who they authentically want to be, showing up, and our story really changed from my thoughts were like, this is really hard. This is really complicated. How are we going to do this? To this is fantastic. I'm learning so much from our marriage every day. I'm learning so much from him every day. And I get to be myself and he gets to be himself. It's like win-win. It's a no-brainer in my mind.
And it's amazing, because a lot of times I help couples. I don't help the couple. I help the women, but it ends up helping the couples who aren't the same religiously. I am more religious. I'm more into self-development. He's so stuck. He's so behind, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Yeah.
Usually I have that as opposed to the opposite. And the most beautiful thing is that we forget that kids see through everything. Like here we think that we have to be the same to hold us, a front so that everybody can know that, we're all good. We're all good. We're all the same. But do you really think your kids don't know the difference between the teacher and the substitute? Like, really?
Right.
You know, it's almost like trying to be a substitute walking in and being like, I'm the regular teacher, so no games around here. Like, no, you know they're going to change their names. You know they're going to mess you up. Like, they're going to do their thing because that's what you do when there's a different teacher. So why are we trying so hard to be just like him or to expect him to be just like us when in reality, it doesn't even matter?
Yeah.
And all it does is confuse the kids, give them this, like, you're supposed to be who you're not really because somebody else cares. Nobody else cares.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. When you're like shooting on your partner and you're shooting on yourself, right? You're creating this whole narrative of like this that you're teaching your kids. You should be shooting on yourself. You should be like, should. I should do this. I should do that. I should be doing things out of obligation. And we know that, you're doing an action that is fueled by should, fueled by obligation. It's not going to last. And it's not going to last long. You're going to burn down to the ground, right? You could do the same action from a place of like love and excitement and openness and curiosity and get completely different results because it's coming from a totally different place.
Yes. And then you also teach your kids how to respect. I'm doing this because it's important for him, not because it's important to me, but I'm still going to do it, you know? Oh, I get it now, Instead of trying to fake it, you're actually, really, really clear.
Right.
Really, really clear about what it means to respect someone at a level where you're willing to show, to do actions and show up just because it's important to him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. And having and like doing those things because you like want to be connected and that being where the excitement's coming from, like finding that place of like joy and excitement, right? Because like you're getting an opportunity to connect to the person that you love. And that's really an amazing thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good
Where
stuff,
can people, yes, totally. Where can people find you so they can work with you?
Yeah, definitely. So they can find me on Instagram under Tamar Tribe, TamarTribe, as well as Facebook, Tamar Field-Gersh, like my name, that's written right there. And website coming soon, which if they follow me on those two places, they'll get information about, where the website is in the works. So coming soon. And you'll see in both of those, I think the Instagram as well as Facebook, they are available to sign up for consults with me so they can get to know me a little bit more, share a little bit of what's going on with them. And let's see if and how we can work together in the future.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Amazing.
This was such an amazing conversation because, self-love is so fluffy. Like it's not something you could touch. It's not tangible. It's not something you could hold. You can really, talk about, but yet we were able to really bring it down to such a practical level.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power of, coaching.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what do you want up here? How do we bring it down to here? Let's put this into action now, right? What are you wanting? Let's grab onto it and bring it down and make it happen for you. And not just talking about it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Debbie Sasson, she always says coaching is just taking time and collapsing it. It's instead of you having to go through this whole journey to get there, it's how do I, just get a guide to show you what to do next and then collapse time.
Totally.
It's genius. I love
Amazing. Super fun. Thank you so much for having me on. What a pleasure, really.
It's my pleasure. I think this is really fun.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. Thank you so much, Tamara. Thank you everyone who came in, who commented and gave us likes and hearts. We got a lot of stuff going on.
Hearts going on. Amazing.
So thank you everyone, and we will see you next time. Connected